Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin-yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, June 3rd, around 11 p.m. Mountain Time 2021. The models are in. Heavy snow for BC and Alberta. Take a look, up to 4 feet, but that's not really the big story. The big story, well, boom, Greenland, off the charts earlier this week, 12 gigatons in a single day. Eclipses anything the global warming alarmists have to say, and it shut them up. They were about to report on this low here, but boom! Holy macaroni. Western drought is locked in, but some relief is ahead for emerging Midwest and East drought. Keep calm. It's, well, moisture time. Maryland weather flood warning issued for parts of Baltimore and Harford counties, and they look moist. The National Weather Service issued flood warnings for portions of northeast Baltimore, northeast Hartford counties, and they're saturated. So heads up in those regions. Coldest summer weekend on record in Atlantic City? Are you kidding me? Southeastern New Jersey shivered through record cold temperatures over Memorial Day weekend, with Atlantic City International Airport logging its lowest maximum temperature ever recorded for the day, both Saturday and Sunday. What a fun day. Shut up, Al. Get in your hole. Severe weather targets the east through Friday. Well, it could be your lose day. Just saying. Severe storms for the northeast and mid-Atlantic. Heat continues out west. Severe thunderstorms are likely today across portions of the northeast, mid-Atlantic. These storms mainly produce damaging winds, but hail and tornadoes are two possibilities. Meanwhile, a pronounced heat ridge with potential record high temperatures will continue out west, because that's the narrative, before gradually shifting towards the upper Midwest over the next few days. I'll tell you what, it's been quite nice here. And you can see that heavy snow moving into Alberta in just the next few days. All that snow will dump Saturday, Sunday, through your Monday into Tuesday, which is your lose day. Take a look. We're talking up to 44 inches of the global warming goodness in the high altitudes. So keep a close eye on that. Hurricane tip: why you should freeze a quarter over water during storms. Now, what they want you to do is they want you to freeze a glass of water. We can't see it. There it is. Freeze a glass of water, take it out of the freezer, pop a quarter on top before you evacuate, and leave it there. Now, if you come back and the quarter is only halfway down in the glass, all of your food in the freezer might be good. If it's at the bottom of the glass, you're fluxed. If it's at the top of the glass, you're golden. So as long as the quarter is from the top to the middle of the glass or the cup, your food should be safe. If it drops to the bottom, it was a little too warm. And the stuff in there, well, it's pet food. New Zealand suffers all-time record cold as Greenland snow and ice gains head off the charts, literally. And we showed you that chart earlier when we started the video. Take a look at this. We'll get back to it. Greenland is off the charts. New Zealand suffers the all-time record cold. Every key data point now indicates a cooling planet. How long will it be before the likes of the IPCC and the mainstream media lapdogs report on the facts? Well, cap, probably never. 16.4 feet, 5 meters of early season snow buries Mount Hutton, New Zealand. And there's a boom. Double the average avalanche deaths in Europe blamed on abundant snow. Snowpack is increasing across the planet as low solar activity continues to impact Earth's climate. The season's total snow mass for the Northern Hemisphere chart is off the chizzy. Here it is. Boom. And, well, the data speaks for itself. So, let's just move on with some of the updates. Delphi, India, suffers its coldest June temperature ever recorded. Ever. Not this week, not this year, this decade, ever. India has been breaking low temperature records left, right, and center for the last 3 years. In fact, since August 2020, the nation's capital, Delphi, has busted at least one major weather record each and every month. Predictably, climate alarmists the world over are keen to blame this feat on global heating and rising atmospheric CO2 levels, even though the majority of the fallen benchmarks have been cold-related. In October last year, Delphi broke a 58-year-old record, clocking mean minimum temperatures of 17.2 C, and the records continue to fall. When will they pick up what we're putting down? Well, this spike has certainly been unnoticed by the masses, coming from the Greenland ice data, which is coming from the Greenland scientists on the ice sheet itself. So this is some pretty good data right there. And you could see that in a time when the normal Iceland green ice build is about 4 gigatons, it spiked to 12 gigatons in a single day. Chilly, to say the least. But it completely eliminates all this warming and melting right here, tenfold, which is why the mainstream is silent. They were about to report on the extreme melting in Greenland before a record cooling event building more ice, 12 gigatons in a day, than has ever happened, ever, on Greenland. What say you? The data doesn't lie. Earthquake swarm near Stanley, Idaho, has got knickers in a bunch. I'm sure Mary Greeley had crickets chirping, Dutch Since, and everyone else scared the out of you. But it's completely normal. Seismic update. No quakes of note. But we will talk about the Loha'ihi seamount just south of Pahala on the southern tip of the Big Island in just a moment. A burp or blast. Now, what are we talking about? Certainly not the food you just ate at the restaurant you just had a reservation for. We're talking about volcanoes. Seismic signals reveal the volcanic eruption to come. Now, this is no new news, but I figured many people have been picking up on this headline, and what they're claiming here is that, well, scientists have begun to decipher the subtle signs that reveal how explosive a volcanic eruption is going to be. And all of the things they talk about are all the things we already know about. Inflation, increased volcanic gases, and increased tremor. Oh my goodness, as if it's new news. It's almost like Stone Age geologists that work in volcanology are manning the helm, so to speak, in my opinion. Total Sharticle, Worldwide Volcano News Update. We have a lot to report on here. We have Reventador, Nairagongo, Nevados de Chillán, Sabancaya, Abico, Nevados de Chillán, and more. I said that twice. Holy macaroni. Now, Sabancaya has had continuous volcanic ash emissions for years, almost. But there is an uptick there. Ibico as well. Eruption reported. Reventador to 14,000 feet. Nyiragongo over in the Congo is still booming. Now, we reported on the fact that they've evacuated most of the city in Goma, and people are on edge. But the inflation and the seismicity is slightly reducing, which could mean nothing. And people could move back in the region before the big boom, and that would be devastating. But Nyiragongo is still puffing to 15,000 feet, 18,000 feet earlier today, and it is ongoing. But thankfully, the seismicity and the inflation is reduced. So imminent major eruption is also reduced. We also have updates on Fagrados Fall. I don't know if you guys have been watching the Fisher eruption as of late, but in the last 3 days, the main vent has had a major uptick in volcanic output as far as lava. And it has increased to 12.4 cubic meters per second, which is literally threefold plus over the initial eruption, and is now flooding that valley and dumping it to other valleys and headed to the sea, where we could see a phreomagmatic eruption in weeks or months, coming soon after it covers the road. Sangay going to 22,000 feet. Here we see that main fissure vent, which is pumping out massive amounts of lava, 12.4, in fact, cubic meters per second. It's quite a bit. And we've got Fuego, possible volcanic ash emissions to 15,000 feet. Nevados de Chillán and Sabangaya to 26,000 feet. Sinabung also puffing. But Sangay, we want to talk about. There's a huge volcanic plume over the last 3 days. This baby has been erupting 18 to 24,000 feet over the last several years, almost once or twice a week. But this type of plume activity is definitely an increase as far as the output because it's moving hundreds of miles to the west, northwest, and, well, that's a cooling effect on the Earth, by the way. Hey. Now let's talk about space weather. We had multiple coronal mass ejections headed our way, and certainly they did reach us. What appears to be the expected edge of the CME did not occur 24 hours ago, as some people had reported, but occurred, yes, right there. Boom! There is the actual CME impact, which is all verticals on the density and plasma density and speed simultaneously. That's not a coronal hole, no matter what anyone says, because they were wrong and they feel embarrassed. And they never want to correct themselves or go back and corroborate anything they've ever said because they've never been wrong. Who could that be? But the coronal hole stream actually happened right here, as the same actually taught us over the last decade that when the phi angle goes from Earth to Sun, back Sun to Earth, that's when the coronal hole meets us, which is here, not here. But when plasma density and speed and temperature all increase at the same exact time, including the BZ shift, that's a coronal mass ejection. It is not a coronal hole stream from the sun, because a coronal hole stream from the sun begins with a plasma spike first and then the plasma speed second. Like the building up of snow on a shovel. I think I've heard that somewhere before. Al Gore's a whore, and several other people that want you to live by the most dangerous city in the world. That's where you're prepping. Good luck. Planetary K index shows nothing that we're at KP0, and we are all currently psychic, except for the suspicious one. Experts say green light streaks above the Mount Merapi comes from space. Yes, a laser beam from space is what the headline would suggest, but it's just a meteor and a green plasma tail that happened to be captured while the volcano was erupting. Nothing to see here. I can only imagine what the idiots on the YouTubeosphere said about that green streak, because I've gotten dozens of emails about aliens and spaceships and other dumb stuff. But when you see a green line and a straight one, it's a meteor and it's a plasma tail. Period. Nothing else. Now, scientists drilled the deepest ocean hole off Japan's coast, eclipsing the record set back in the 1970s. Deeper than the Russian hellhole, which, made headlines over the last several years. But a new world record, a team of scientists working in Japan has drilled a hole into the Earth's crust 26,322 feet below the ocean surface, which was already thousands of feet to begin with. Well, actually, beating the old record by 328 feet set 5 decades ago. Ho, ho. Gizmodo reported on the record-breaking hole, which IODP scientists dug in the Pacific Ocean off Japan's northeast coast. The achievement marks the first time somebody has broken the previous record in 43 years. The legendary drilling vessel Glomar Challenger set the record back in the 70s. Now, the drill hole captain, Naoto Kiruma, of the research vessel Kaimai, in the image immediately below, positioned the ship above the drilling site. Drill operators then lowered into the ocean a 130-foot-long giant piston corer via a winch, and the corer then produced to drill into the ground, ultimately capturing sediment from 124 feet down. Now, where does the 26,322 feet come from? Nobody knows. But apparently they dug that deep. What a tweak. Bonanza, gold veins and rocks finally explained. Do you ever wonder where a 2-foot wide gold vein comes from? It's insane because the math that never added up for decades. When I was a geologist, we just had no idea how that there was so much gold in one spot. How you could find a 32-pound nugget. Doesn't make any sense because this gold should have been in hydrothermal solution and precipitated out, so it should just be thin veils or foil or something like that. But in a new study, they've determined that the precious metals like gold and silver are held in precipitation, like colloidal silver. They become colloidal, and they accumulate in amounts that are unexplainable. And if you get a colloidal amount within a hydrothermal vein and it cools rapidly, hello, you get tons of gold. That's boom. To gold mining. A cave in France changes what we thought we knew about the Neanderthals. A cave in France contains man's earliest known structures that had to be built. And they had to be built by Neanderthals because there was no Cro-Magnon running around. Or maybe there was. But some members of a local caving club managed to squeeze through the narrow 30-meter-long tunnel to arrive at a passageway. Now, they followed it past pools of water and old animal bones for over 330 meters before coming to a large chamber and a scene they had no reason to expect. Stalagmites that someone had broken into hundreds of small pieces, most of which were arranged into 2 rings, one roughly 6 meters across and one 2 meters wide. And here you can see that pile of stalagmites right here. These were placed there over 100,000 years ago. It's completely mind-blowing. And I agree with the science. And the team assembled eventually determined the stalagmites had been broken up by people 176,000 years ago. Way further back than even anyone had supposed. Now this eclipses, just wait for it, the most recent man-made structure was thought to be around 40 to 50,000 years old. This pushes it back over threefold. 176,000 years ago, hominids were making stone walls in caves out of stalactites. Mind-blowing. Boom-worthy. Now, what else was happening 20, 30,000 years ago? Why are the same figures in Nigeria, Russia, Easter Island, Japan, Costa Rica, Peru, and Argentina? Why are the people all carving the same exact thing? Ding, ding. It's not an accident. It's not a normal figure that anyone would carve ever. Infinity. It's because all of these people were well aware of a global society that once existed. And their symbols and mechanisms were all shared equally amongst the races. Viracocha much? Not a colonizer, but a bringer of information and good news. Considered a god by many, and probably the fable of all gods. A white man on a boat, showing up on a foreign land, teaching people how to live in harmony with technology. Can you imagine that? Certainly not what's happening today. Now, the Toba supervolcanic eruption caused severe tropical stratospheric ozone depletion and caused a bottleneck in humanity, which reduced the population up to 99%, potentially down to 7,000 to 10,000 people. In this paper, they say 10,000 to 30,000, but same story. And it's not just the eruption that caused the depletion of the ozone, but a magnetic excursion at the same time, the North Atlantic Anomaly Excursion. And, well, if both of them happen at the same time, well, that's a mass extinction time. You can watch the video on the Toba supervolcanic eruption, which caused the severe ozone depletion over at Magnetic Reversal News. And we ask everyone that subscribes to Oppenheimer Ranch to come over to Magnetic Reversal News and get up to speed. It's that simple. Click on the link, get the knowledge. Scientists solve an 80-year-old paradox about the sun. No, they didn't. They just wrote some garbage that meant nothing in a paper, and nothing has been solved. Now, what they're claiming here is that they now know why the photosphere is only 6,000 degrees, and if you just move out from the sun, it's millions of degrees. They know why. They know how to transfer that energy based on zero thermodynamics ever, because they just said it. It's the dumbest I've ever seen. It's literally like PhD saying, yeah, the sun's really hot. It's cold on the surface, but as you go out to the edge, there's a thing called the fairy tale unicorn wave that heats it all up. Dark energy wave, which they're calling, and unfortunately, they're referring to the Alphen wave, which has nothing to do with what they're saying, and everything to do with the fact that cosmology is broken. The standard model is decrepit, and the fact that we're still using it to explain what we see in the cosmos, well, is embarrassing to many, but just a small population of the Earth. So the rest of the 99% of the population that are sheeple that read the mainstream are like, oh yeah, it's dark holes. And did you see how many black holes and dark energy there were? 99% of everything I'm saying is not even provable. It's awesome. It's what we call science now. And that's why you can go from 6,000 to 1,000,000 degrees in just a few hundred miles, because of science fiction. It's great. Well, you know what some science fact is? Glyphosate food testing has been continuing, and it's getting scary. Some of the most toxic foods on the planet is what the majority of mothers feed their children. Original Cheerios. 1,125 parts per billion glyphosate, which is a carcinogen that kills you. Causes autism, allergic reactions, yes, gluten intolerance, and many other things that have all increased 100-fold since the 1990s, when glyphosate was allowed to be used on all your food. And since then, starting in the 2000s, glyphosate is allowed to be sprayed on all the potatoes and onions and other root crops that they want to store for months, if not years, and resell to you looking fresh when they actually were harvested a year and a half ago. Yeah, if you're buying conventional potatoes and root vegetables, you're probably killing yourself early. And if you're feeding your children Oreos, or you're eating Cool Ranch Doritos, you're eating some of the most toxic processed foods on the planet. And this list just proves that point. Stacy's Simply Naked Pita Chips are the most toxic shit you could ever ingest, followed by Lay's Kettle Cooked Chips. Original Oreos, disgusting. Original Cheerios are 10 times more poisonous than Ritz crackers, which are also poisonous. And it's just mind-blowing how much poison the population is allowed to consume after these numbers come out, and nothing is done. And nothing will ever be done, which is why you should start growing your own food. That way you know where it comes from, and it doesn't contain any of the toxic chemicals that are in your Cheerios, which you're feeding to your baby. How about your self-sufficiency guide for growing your own food? For beginners, that means you, the people that have no idea what I'm talking about. Yes, you're feeding your children Cheerios, and they will probably be retarded, autistic, or kill themselves. And it's your fault because you're clueless. But if you're just as smart and have no money and can't even afford Cheerios, you can certainly afford to grow your own food, because seeds are free from local seed exchanges and neighbors that want to help you survive and thrive. And here is a 16-page PDF on how to grow your own food if you're clueless. If you're a newbie, it's free. I just gave it to you. And not only that, home harvest, how to grow your own delicious food. A 35-page step-by-step process on how you can survive and thrive on little or no money in your own backyard. Now, you need a little plot of land. So those of you that don't have grass to grow, do it at your apartment complex in the backyard. Do it in a local park. Figure it out. Hope you got something out of the video. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. We love each and every one of you. Be safe. Thanks to our one-time donors, our new Patreons. Without you, we will not make these videos. This will not continue. So please share the video, become a Patreon, drop a one-time donation, and be safe. But don't donate unless you have the money. Please. Mark my words. It's our pleasure to give you this information for free if you can't afford it, which is why we provide free books and free knowledge every single day. We want you to survive and thrive in the future because we need you so that our species can continue. Be safe. We love you. That's a boom. To knowledge. Click on one of the other boxes to gain more of it. And hit that subscribe button. And hit that bell. And be well. No.